Today we celebrate 50 days after the Feast of the Lord's Resurrection. 50 days, and we've come to Pentecost, Whitsun, the time of the gift of the Holy Spirit to the infant church. It brings to completion the whole of the Paschal cycle, the time of the Lord's Passion and his resurrection, and his ascension to the right hand of the Father in our flesh. And now he sends the Holy Spirit upon those whom he wishes to go out to the ends of the earth to proclaim the good news. Those apostles and the holy women who were hiding in the upper room for fear of the Jews had a remarkable experience. They said that something like tongues of fire appeared in the room, and it separated, and each of those apostles and those women were enlightened by that fire, the tongues of flame coming to rest upon them. And then they came tumbling down the stairs. It was only morning time, and they came tumbling down the stairs and they started to speak in foreign languages. And all those different Jews in the city of Jerusalem at the time who've come for the Passover from all over the Jewish world, each heard them in his own language. They thought, they're drunk, but it's only the morning. Such was their enthusiasm, such was their joy, which came bubbling out from that locked upper room. The Feast of Pentecost is first of all a Jewish feast. It is the time of the celebration of the Torah, the gift of the law on Mount Sinai. So as the Hebrews left Egypt through the Red Sea and wandered in the wilderness 50 days later, Moses went into the thunder, the lightning, the fire of Mount Sinai to receive the law. And so after Christians have crossed the Red Sea in baptism at Easter, 50 days later, they receive the Spirit. Now the law and the Spirit are really in opposition to each other. There's other ways of thinking about it, but really they are seen to be two opposite things. This is according to St. Paul. The law is to keep us in, to stop us straying, to keep us in the narrow path. Don't do this, and don't do this, and don't do this, and don't do this. And if you do, there are penalties attached to that. Whereas the Spirit brings freedom. Do this, do that, do the other, go there, go there. The law, in its fulfillment, its promise, is to bring us to a promised land. The Spirit and its promise is to bring us to heaven, something quite different. It takes the idea from the Old Testament and explodes its meaning. And so we see that gift of the law given to God's ancient people is now superseded in a remarkable and astonishing way in the gift of the Spirit. Again, back in the Old Testament, in the book of Genesis, we read about how man tries to get to God and to contain God. We have it in the Tower of Babel. The Tower of Babel rising up from the earth into the heavens. And God was angry with this. And so he sent down this confusion of languages, this confusion of tongues. And now at Pentecost, the opposite happens. It's not us going up to God, but it's God descending to us. And the gift of diverse tongues, the gift of different languages, isn't there to confuse anymore. It's there to bring together. It's not that now, as it was in the Tower of Babel, a scattering, a mixture, a defeat. Now God's gift of different languages is to bring together into one body of the church, so that one message can be proclaimed to all the people, that Jesus is Lord and he's risen from the dead. Again, when Moses received the law from Mount Sinai, he went up there into the cloud, and the glory of the Lord descended on the mountain, and there were great crashes of thunder and lightning and fire, and he came down with that law. Now in that upper room, the glory of the Lord descends, and there are flames of fire again, and the wind blowing through the room, but not in any terrifying way. Now it is the gift of joy, because that's what the Spirit is. The Spirit is God's spirit of joy. What I mean is, imagine if you can, you don't have to, but imagine if you can, God contemplating himself, God considering himself, and when God considers himself, when God thinks about himself, when God reflects upon himself, he finds in that looking, in that reflection, that contemplation, if you like, joy. When the Father gazes upon the Son, who contains everything the Father has, the perfect image of the Father, the internal reasoning of the Father, when he looks upon the Son, upon his word, upon his inner reasoning, and that look is reflected back, is brought back as the Word, the Son, gazes and reflects and contemplates the Father. Between those persons, there is this spirit of joy. And that is what's given to us. You see, when the Spirit comes upon Jesus, the Father says, "This is my Son, the beloved, with whom I'm well pleased." And the Spirit is seen to descend upon Jesus. And so it is with you and I, and all members of Holy Church, because of whose body we are. And when the Father sees us, we who are his Son, and we call God our Father, the Spirit of joy, the Holy Spirit, descends upon us. And that, if you like, is our way into the life of the Blessed Trinity, or is our affirmation, rather, that we are within the life of the Trinity. That the same Spirit which is breathed out by the Father and the Son, is spirated, breathed out in joyful love, That Spirit is given to you and me. God bless. May God's holy angels guard your coming and your going, and bless you and all those whom you love, both in this world and the next.